is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of the annual purge.
After we showed the first movie, a lot of people said, we want to know what happens in the streets or in the parks or in the country. So I think every single American would have a different experience on Purge Night.
There was a promise in the concept of something bigger. They felt like, wow, there's so much more on this night. What's happening beyond this one family? So we always were like, let's just open it up because we think the audience wanted to see more than we gave them in the first film.
All right, we got to put it to camera, but it looks good. Yeah. Good, good. All right.
The first Purge was only told by a certain point of view, which was from the rich people in the suburbs, and you don't really understand what the Purge as a political ideology represents. And in this film, you really get to see what the Purge is and why it exists.
All the stuff that's in Purge 1 that is talked about or you see, they talk about the Founding Fathers, it's layered into the first movie. And James was able to bring it all out in the second movie and show everybody, you know, literally in the film, all that stuff he was talking about in the first movie.
Boom, boom, boom. You guys finally get the shot off. You got it. You're off now. Everybody, let's go. Let's go.
You know, we have 5 characters in the movie, and 4 get caught on Purge Night who don't want to be out, and 1 wants to be out there and is purging, and that is the character of Leo that's played by Frank Grillo.
You know he's got one intent, and that is to revenge. I lose a child to a drunk driver, and you know, I'm not a person who would normally purge, but I use that device as a way to justify my revenge.
You're good with guns. Guessing you're either a cop or a criminal.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing you're either a pain in my ass or a pain in my ass. Now be quiet.
The first characters I came up with his mother and daughter who were struggling in the society, and we're seeing them just struggle in this world financially.
Ava, she's this really amazing character that goes through an incredible arc. She begins as a fairly passive, working mother of Callie. It's a very odd relationship and dynamic that they have. She's really quite codependent.
The dynamic is strange because she's a lot more introverted and Callie's really outspoken. Hey, we're gonna be fine, just like every year.
You have a mother and a daughter, a single guy out there, and a married couple. The married couple is in real life, and they played it really well on screen.
It's 5 minutes till commencement.
Yeah, I know.
We can't be stuck downtown with nowhere to go. I mean, everyone comes downtown to purge.
No one's gonna hurt you, all right? Not on my watch. We'll be okay, I promise.
I mean, I think it's interesting because they're separating at the beginning of the movie, and because of the events that happen that day, the things that really don't matter in life that start to seem to matter just disappear, and it's all about survival, and your priorities get clear very quickly in those kinds of situations.
What do we do?
There are these 3 stories, my story, the 2 girls, and then the couple. And eventually those stories become irrelevant because now we have one story, which is to survive this night.
No, please, get out of the car! Hey, we have to go now!
Having a bigger budget, not a huge budget, but a bigger budget, allowed us to do things that we could not do on the first one. We weren't sure where we were going to film the movie. We just knew we needed a city. We wanted an urban environment.
What we wanted to accomplish was we wanted people to actually feel viscerally what it would be like if you were out there and there were people hunting other people and how scary that can be.
And we scouted downtown Los Angeles.
Almost all of our movies shoot in Los Angeles, so we know pretty much every place you can shoot here.
You know, James went out there, he scouted, and he said, I can make this work here. This is perfect.
White van. Door whips open. They pull them in violently.
When you're shooting in downtown LA, it's a live, living entity. And we certainly had to contend with sounds and lights and helicopters. You know, there are helicopters going around there whether we wanted them to or not. But I think that adds to the realism of the movie.
You get over there, you run. You don't stop, you don't look back, you don't wait for me, understand? You go. Come on.
Our actors were fantastic, I'll say that. But they were running and we shot all nights, so we're talking about 3 and 4 in the morning, running down alleys, real rats everywhere. I mean, there were rats everywhere.
It was very demanding, though. There's a lot of running and jumping and fighting.
There's a lot of physical stuff that was going on. I think the first week that we shot, we had to do the scene where Carmen and I got dragged through the hallway, and there's like flames, and there's all this stuff going on, and it was wild. But I remember just wanting to do it over and over and over again. It was like a ride that I wanted to go on. It was definitely a ride.
Our actors were game, and it was physical. It was crazy. Being out in downtown LA at night, 4 in the morning, with rats, made everybody feel very like we were out there purging.
We have a lot of streets, a lot of alleys, and finally here, the Hunt Club.
Scope the area. Where am I? Where am I? Where am I? See some dead bodies. Boom, you see those people? Shoot at them, and then you're off.
This is kind of a upscale obstacle course.
Purgers, please suit up.
The idea that James and I talked about was, what would you want to do if you could do anything and you were a crazy rich guy with a fantasy? And I thought, what would be more fun than hunting humans in a sculpture garden?
In the oddest, most depraved way, it's a fantasy of what would you do if you could kill whoever you wanted to on that one night.
Cut, great, good. Let's go one more.
I'm doing God's work. I am a one-woman fucking plague, and you're all in my path.
I thought it was really interesting, the fact that it was a social commentary on gun violence in America, which is something I'm very interested in, and what the ramifications are for all of us culturally.
The purge really is aimed to get rid of the poor, to just sort of eradicate them from society.
It kind of makes you scratch your head about where our society is, you know, and violence and prejudice and all these things that we deal with on a daily basis. And if this would ever be a solution in some kind of crazy, macabre way.
Because it's not too far from what our reality is right now, you know? Especially in certain parts of this world.
We're in a society now that is so lopsided with a lack of middle class. And, you know, what are we doing for the people who are less privileged? And do we get rid of them? Is that the answer? I mean, you know, it's kind of like, is that what we do?
We're not making a political movie in that sense, but there is a statement within it.
James was telling us that with the first one, you know, he thought it was a commentary, and people just got really into the idea of, I would kill my boss. I wish there was a purge. And he's like, whoa, no, that's not why we're making the movie. We're not saying this should happen.
I love talking about the idea with people. I really do. It really gets people going.
I don't think that anyone walks away from this movie and says, well, that's a really great idea. We should really start to get behind making the purge a real thing. At least I hope not.
I think what's intriguing about people in the concept is that if there's no governing force anymore dictating our morality, how would we govern ourselves? And what is holding us in control? Is it the government? Is it the police? And if they're gone, what do we do?
Leave my daughter alone. You can do what you want to me, Diego.
I will. Trust me when I tell you, I will.
We certainly don't set out to make these films as a dark, nihilistic pursuit.
The purpose of the movie is to be a fun, engaging, exciting, action, scary movie.
You know, we want you to come away with your pulse having been raised and adrenaline pumping and saying, I hope there's a purge next year.
When I came up with it, I thought it was this kind of Roger Corman-esque B-movie idea that was incredibly far-fetched. But when people talk about it, they think it's almost possible, which is terrifying. But that's what makes it, I guess, a true horror movie then. It's really scary.